Between nothing to see here and absolutely something going on, what is happening in the Chicago Bears locker room, Tom?
Well, there've been some strange videos of like the DJ Moore walking off the field after he tweaked something and sitting on the bench while Caleb's still scrambling around. DJ Moore's always had a good reputation in terms of the guy and in the locker room. There's definitely been frustration that he has shown at times here. I think that that's natural when you're not having instant success. And, we know that Caleb Williams even, went to the offensive coordinator early in the season and said, hey, we'd like to, shake some things up. Inevitably, when you're the number one pick and you've brought all the pressure on yourself, as Caleb has, by saying, hey, I want to win 8 Super Bowls and I want to be the greatest ever, when you're sitting there and you're a 500 type football team at the season's midpoint, naturally, there's going to be questions about, okay, why isn't it better right now? And those are magnified when you got the guy on the other side in Jaden Daniels, who right now is sitting on top of the NFC East, and they're out there making big moves to bring in Marshawn Lattimore. But I would caution, and I remember talking with TJ and Brockman and the fellas about this when I was out there, early on in the season here. As much as, we wanted to go like, oh, is this another situation where the number 2 pick was the best one and they made a mistake with number 1? Caleb's really talented, and we have seen it at various points this season. When they're, dropping 40 or whatever it was on the Panthers, you're not watching that game and going, oh man, they'd rather have Jaden Daniels. You know it's in there, okay, with Caleb Williams here. But from I think, general building dynamic, even outside the locker room, obviously, right now you're falling short of expectations. And even worse, you're watching the teams in your own division who all look like they're headed in the right direction right now. I would say this because inevitably there's going to be questions raised about potential changes in the offseason with Chicago and what happens if they don't turn it around. Their team president, Kevin Warren, is a guy who, going back to his days in Minnesota and then as the Big Ten commissioner, he is very methodical. He always wants to get a complete body of work. He wants to give people every opportunity. We saw it last year when there was a lot of speculation about changes, and then what did they go? 6-2 down the stretch, and the defense got a lot better and to acquire Montez Sweat at the trade deadline. I'm not expecting, even with a loss to the Patriots, which on paper, this is a game the Bears absolutely should win, but even if there's boos, even if they lose, I don't think we're waking up on Monday morning and the building has been exploded. That would not fit with what we know about Kevin Warren, who again has a long history in this league. It's not what we know about the McCaskies. They've got to find a way to play better and more consistently. And of course, also, Rich, I can't help but keep thinking back of what would the lens be that we're looking through if Tyreek Stevenson just is looking toward the play instead of into the stands before the Hail Mary. The standings are different. You beat Washington. Everything feels a little bit different, but we're often captive to the outcome-based analysis, and I think that the Bears are absolutely a function of that.
Yeah, we'd be talking about Caleb Williams' terrific, gutsy fourth quarter where he's getting pounded, and he's getting hammered, and he still got it done is really what we'd be talking about. And then maybe the Arizona loss would be an outlier as opposed to indicative of yet another circumstance where accountability needs to be had.
And maybe you come in differently to that game, too.
Right.
If you win that game in Washington, maybe you're not, the emotional weight of that. Like there's been studies done. I know teams have done studies on this, like walk-off wins or walk-off losses and what happens the following week. There is like analytical data that will show you that there's an emotional toll on either side of that. Even if you have a walk-off win, it can be draining, and teams historically have not played the greatest the following week. So, yeah, I mean, when you spend several days, you got a long flight back from Washington, and you're sitting there looking at number 29 and going, everybody's watching it on their phones on Twitter, like, what in the hell was that? And you got to address it, and you got to bench them, and you got to answer questions about it for days and for the entire week. I'm not saying they would have gone into Arizona and won, because I think it's really impressive right now what Jonathan Gannon's doing, what Drew Petzing's doing with Kyler Murray and getting those young weapons going. They're on top of the NFC West for a reason, but, it's entirely possible, too. We would have seen a better Bears team show up than the one that really stumbled all the way through that game.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.